And then suddenly people are saying, well, Eric DeCosta, the Raven GM, he got cold feet. Well, Maxx didn't pass his physical. And so the deal's off. So people are freaking out. And my takeaway is if I was the Raiders, hey, I'd stay on the phone, Chicago Bears. But if I had to take him back, I'd take him back. People break up all the time. I mean, Dak just broke up with his fiance. Maxx Crosby just broke up with the Raiders. Who knows? Maybe they'll get back together. It happens all the time. Last year, Myles Garrett's like, get me out of Cleveland. And he went on to have his best year as a Cleveland Brown. Stuff happens. Listen, Maxx, this has been talked about. This deal has been talked about for 6 months. So it didn't catch Maxx off guard. Maxx is a pro. The Ravens offered 2 first-round picks. Maxx isn't dumb. It's a great deal, especially at Max's age. He got dinged up last year. Everybody in the room loved Maxx. Maxx had a 15-minute, soliloquy. He went out there after getting traded and said how much he loved the Raiders, and the Raiders loved him. And, people break up all the time. It happens. By the way, the Raiders are a better team, or at least a better roster than they were the day they traded Maxx. So as Maxx Crosby, I don't know. I wouldn't be opposed to going back. So the Chicago Bears still need a pass rusher. Raiders should get on the phone. And they're not going to get 2 firsts. Maybe they get a second and a fourth. So, I mean, it happens. If it was in the middle of the season, at the trade deadline, I'd be like, whoa, this is chaos. We got nothing but time. All I know is this. Maxx Crosby next year is going to be highly effective. Disruptive, 12 sacks, 20 tackles for losses. He'll bat down passes. I would want him on my football team.
This take has absolutely floored me. I've been waiting hours to finally watch this segment and create this clip, and now that I'm seeing it for the first time, I have to say, this is not at all what I anticipated. Let me address this properly. First off, bringing Dak Prescott and his fiancée into this conversation is completely unnecessary. That's a personal matter that should remain separate from football analysis. Just leave that to the side entirely. It has no bearing on the actual discussion at hand. What we're witnessing here is organizational chaos compounded by everything that transpired during free agency. The Raiders were positioned to receive 2 first-round picks for Maxx Crosby. 2 first-round selections across consecutive drafts. That's foundational capital. That's the kind of compensation that allows a franchise to reset its trajectory, to build a new core, to create sustainable success. Now we're talking about potentially getting a second and a fourth and simply saying things happen. That's ridiculous. That's a massive downgrade in compensation, and glossing over it with casual acceptance does a disservice to the situation. The context matters tremendously. Free agency has come and gone. Teams have committed their available resources, structured their finances, and built their rosters around specific assumptions. The Ravens didn't just back out of a trade. They did so after the entire free agency period elapsed, after the Raiders had operated under the assumption that significant draft capital was incoming, after other potential suitors had already addressed their needs and allocated their funds. This isn't a matter of wondering whether the Raiders and Crosby can work things out and move forward amicably. Of course they're better with Crosby on the roster. Of course they can make the contracts work for this season. That's not the point. The point is that this was a strategic move designed to establish a new foundation for the future, and that future has now been fundamentally compromised. Getting 2 first-round picks in back-to-back drafts is categorically different from having a second and a fourth, while simultaneously carrying Crosby's salary for the upcoming season. The math is different. The flexibility is different. The long-term implications are different. If this collapse had occurred during the regular season, that would be one thing. But did we all not just collectively experience the controlled chaos of free agency? We watched the elaborate television productions with Dan Orlovsky and Peter Schrager in separate boxes on some set. Adam Schefter frantically taking phone calls with a computer in front of him. All of it presented as high-stakes breaking news theater. The whole thing was manufactured drama. And now, after all that frenzy has subsided and teams have made their beds, the Ravens pull out and leave the Raiders in an incredibly difficult position. Call it what it is. It's absolute nonsense. It's bad business. There's no other way to characterize it. Sometimes something happens, and you simply have to call it how you see it. You have to be honest about the situation without adding optimism, without spinning perspective, without searching for silver linings. You just explain what happened and acknowledge the reality of it. This reminds me of the discourse around Joel Embiid scoring 83 points with 40-plus free throw attempts. Yes, it was an amazing statistical achievement. That's true. It's also not particularly entertaining to watch someone shoot that many free throws. Both things can be true simultaneously. We don't have to hide the less convenient truth in service of celebrating the moment. We can acknowledge the full picture. Sometimes we need strong context because we genuinely don't know how to process what we're seeing. Other times, what happened is simply what happened, and we don't need to add anything on top of it. This situation falls into the latter category. The Ravens backed out after free agency. The Raiders lost 2 first-round picks. That's it. That's the reality. Even the discussion about failing physicals and all that, I view it as utter nonsense. Complete, absolute, utter nonsense. Now we're hearing comparisons to Myles Garrett's situation with the Browns, as if that provides relevant context. What does that have to do with anything? They're completely different circumstances. Let me pose a question. Would the Cleveland Browns have been better off moving on from Myles Garrett and acquiring multiple first-round picks? I think so. They'd be flush with draft capital right now, positioned to execute a complete organizational turnaround. Instead, he set the sack record, and the Browns remain a joke of a franchise potentially running it back with Deshaun Watson. The equivalent thinking is suggesting this year will be different for some team because they added Pete Carroll and Geno Smith while running the offense through Carroll's son. That's not inspiring confidence. That's not a recipe for contention. The Raiders were making some of the smartest moves in the league this offseason. They were aggressive, strategic, forward-thinking. And now the Ravens have essentially tanked Maxx Crosby's trade value. Tanked it. Let's not hide behind narratives about hurt feelings or awkward dynamics. Colin suggested Crosby understood the 2-first compensation and was on board with the trade. Everyone was reportedly comfortable with the situation. Crosby wanted out. The Raiders were willing to accommodate him. They reached a conclusion that worked for everyone. Crosby goes to a competitive team ready to win now. The Raiders get draft capital to build their foundation. Win-win. That outcome no longer exists. This isn't about having a kumbaya moment with Crosby and letting bygones be bygones. It's not comparable to Myles Garrett getting a massive payday. It's not comparable to Dak Prescott's personal situation. These are all fundamentally different scenarios. I feel like I'm going insane watching the discourse around this. Why does it feel like everyone is tiptoeing around these conversations? Why can't people simply acknowledge what's right in front of us? This was bad business. Plain and simple. Are we not allowed to say that out loud? Am I breaking some unwritten rule I'm unaware of? If I am, someone please inform me, and I'll delete this video immediately. Are we afraid of angering the Baltimore Ravens fan base? Does their owner possess more power than I realize? Is my platform about to be shut down? I genuinely don't understand. This whole situation is insane to me. Absolutely insane. I want to hear your perspectives on this. What are your feelings about the Las Vegas Raiders now? I've already made multiple videos analyzing the aftermath and what it all means for the franchise going forward. But I'm curious about your take on the conversations themselves, the reactions from analysts and fans. How are you processing this? Let me know in the comments. I read every single response, whether you agree with my assessment or see things completely differently. Let's generate some genuine discussion, maybe even some spirited debate, but ultimately, let's keep it enjoyable. Please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. We're building something meaningful here, a community where authentic connection to the content and to each other creates genuine excitement about participation. I believe we're making real progress toward that goal. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it significantly helps with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.